Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I'm Nathan. If you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a post-fight show for UFC on Fox. Gaethje versus Poirier for top contendership status, essentially, in the lightweight division, the 155-pound division. Man, this card from the first prelim to the main event was pretty interesting. I felt hit and miss. I was like, man, this is a great fight. This fight's boring, this fight's good, this fight's boring, back and forth, back and forth. There's 6 Fight Pass prelims. Most of those are pretty darn good. And then the prelims on Fox were fairly good. And then the main card, it felt a little sloppy at times. Anyhow, so this is a post-fight rundown of the main card. Let's get started. So the main event was a lightweight clash with Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. And yeah, I went 9-5 on this card, by the way. 9 matches I got correct on who I thought was going to win, and 5 I got wrong. This was one I got wrong. Man, was I way off on this one. I thought Justin Gaethje would pretty much just walk in there, out-wrestle Dustin, pound him out, and then wear him out, and then if it went to stand up, he would pound him out a little bit more than shoot for another takedown, and then that would be the end of it. Boy, was I wrong on this one. Dustin Poirier did his thing. It was like for every 2 strikes landed for Dustin, Gaethje landed 1, so it was like at one point, I don't know, it was like some lopsided. I would have to double check the stats on Fight Metric, but I know the strikes was pretty lopsided. And Dustin finished him off in round 4, TKO punches, 33 seconds into it. Dustin was winning every round up until that point. Plus, Justin got deducted 1 point in round 2 for repeated eye pokes. Dustin is definitely a contender at 155 pounds. I say him and Eddie Alvarez are the guys we really need to be looking at right now, because we don't know what's going to happen with Conor. And then Tony Ferguson needs to heal up. So those 2 guys aside, we need to be talking about Dustin Poirier or Eddie Alvarez for title contention right now, as far as I'm concerned. I, as a fan, would like to see Eddie Alvarez because he's a good wrestling-based fighter, and I don't want to see... I hope Dustin's been working on his wrestling and can deal with Khabib if he fights him. I want to see this very more even matchup rather than a talented striker against Khabib, and then knowing that Khabib's just going to take him down and smother him with wrestling and pound him out to a submission or a TKO. I think Eddie Alvarez is the guy we know that could deal with the wrestling. Poirier has earned his title shot. If he does get it, I'm not going to argue with it. So this is definitely a coin toss between Dustin and Eddie Alvarez for the title fight, as far as I'm concerned. Then in the welterweight division, we had Alex Oliveira versus Carlos Condit. Yeah, Alex had a good game plan. He was going for the takedowns. He knew that Carlos Condit always struggled against wrestling. And then, Alex got submission guillotine choke, round 2, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Alex Oliveira looked pretty good in that first round as well in the striking. Carlos landed some good shots. Obviously, his kickboxing is top-notch, but Alex Oliveira was just the fresher guy from the get-go in this fight. Alex wins against a game Carlos Condit, and I think Carlos really went for it, and his submission defense looked pretty good in this fight, but Alex was just too much that night. And so Alex gets, submission guillotine choke, round 2. Then in the middleweight division, we had Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. Wow, this fight, I could not believe it. I thought Marvin would be bum rushing for takedowns left and right. He would maybe try to stand and bang with him for the first, 20 seconds, get Israel a little bit comfortable, and then shoot for takedowns left and right, which he kind of did early on, and then when it wasn't working, he just gave up on the game plan and tried standing with him, which is what Israel wants. But I think had Marvin been more persistent on taking him down, something would have happened. Even if he tried 10 times and only got it once, all it takes that one time, and then Marvin could have really worked that brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu of his to try to get a finish. But I think a lot of fans were upset with this fight because there's no flashy knockout from Israel, and there's no submission from Marvin. And this fight went to a decision, and so the fans were upset. And Israel won, decision split 29-28 across the board. Yeah, I could give Marvin round 3 in this fight, but the first 2 rounds definitely went to Israel. So I think the right guy won this fight. And I could picture Israel, as they say, dodging the wrestlers for now and then fighting the stand-up guys and winning. So I could picture Israel winning a couple more fights in this division before he has to face a high-caliber wrestler, and that'll be the real test. But Israel won this fight fair and square. I think Marvin will go back from this loss and learn something from this fight. I think Marvin still has a future in this division. And of course, yeah, Israel, it'll be interesting to see if they're just going to keep throwing him strikers, or he's going to get, Division I wrestlers turn into MMA fighters in the division. So I'm real interested to see where both these guys go in the middleweight division. There's a lot of talent in this middleweight division right now. Then in the women's strawweight division to kick off the main card, we had Michelle Waterson versus Courtney Casey. I knew this would pretty much be Michelle Waterson dominating. She won split decision 29-28, but Michelle Waterson got some good takedowns and is going for some good submissions here. Courtney Casey's submission defense looked great. But yeah, Courtney had some good success in the first round with her stand-up, but then rounds 2 and 3 looked like Michelle Waterson was finding her momentum and going for the takedowns more, and it was just helping her out to win the decision here. And yeah, again, I think the right person won on the decision here. Michelle Waterson definitely needed this win to really rack up some wins in the division in the top 10. And it was a fun fight to watch. I can't complain. Then the John Moraga Wilson Hayes fight in the flyweight division on the prelims, that one was a barn burner. I went back and forth on how the judges could score that one. Anyhow, this was an interesting card. A lot of fights, 14 fights. So you had some good finishes and some hard-fought decisions on this card. Stay tuned in the coming days for my pre-fight for Kevin Lee versus Edson Barboza. That's going to be a great UFC fight night on Fox Sports 1. And until then, see ya.